Hi, you guys. Welcome. Happy Tuesday. It's Claritha, and just, serving up another episode of Everyday Enlightenment, and just trying to pin a comment here. So, welcome. Thanks for joining me. And today I really want to talk about, as you can see, I don't think that comment is pinning for some reason, but I'm talking about the ego and the true self. So I think I want to point out the distinction because I see a lot of you struggling right now. And I know many of you are trying to shirk the attachment to your ego in order to feel better, in order to understand what's going on and why you're still having these like battles internally. Hey, Elodie. And in order to understand yourself a little bit better. But I think like feeling better is what motivates a lot of people to understand their ego and versus their true self. And so the battle, a lot of that internal battle is between the ego, which is sort of like wrapped up in fear, and your true self. So let me back up a little bit, excuse me, and define those terms a little bit more. So when I'm saying ego, I'm talking about the part of the mind, a part of the psyche that you consider yourself, right? And so your ego is very much based in like reality. Your ego is very much based in the 3D world and is very concerned with like keeping you physically alive and keeping your physical body safe and out of harm's way, right? And so this aspect of you is a good thing. This aspect of you is what kept your ancestors from being like eaten by a tiger or chased by a lion. And it's also the aspect of you that keeps you from stepping off of the curb into an oncoming bus, say. So the ego helps with your survival by alerting you to the dangerous situations around you. And, excuse me, the ego operates best in a fear-based environment, right? In a fear-based reality. And if you're paying attention, you probably have noticed that that's kind of what we're in now. The doom and gloom that the news media sort of like puts out there for us, or the sensationalist like nature of our culture, wants to always keep you in this constant state of like fight or flight. And it makes you think that you're going to be left alone or left behind, right? And so when we are in those states, it's easy to be manipulated, right? And so it's easy to feel like you have no control, like you are disempowered and fearful. And so in order for your ego not to run your life like that, you need to realign yourself with your true self, or your authentic self, or your higher self, or your original self, whatever the word you want to use. But it's the core essence of who you are, right? And Deepak Chopra says that the true self is made up of a field of possibilities, a field of creativity, a field of intentionality, if that's a word, and a field of power. And it does not, when you talk about that, doesn't that feel so much more expansive and so much more powerful, right? So to live in this field of possibility, to live in this field of creation and intention and power, you have to disengage yourself. You have to unhook yourself from the labels, the definitions, and the judgment that the ego covers you in. Hope that makes sense. So because you are like a beautiful being of light, and we get bogged down by the judgments, the analysis that constantly goes on, the labels that we put on ourselves and that the ego hangs on to because it thinks it's protecting us, right? So that ultimately dims your life, makes life a little harder, and it makes it hard for you to realize how truly amazing and powerful you really are. So I want to encourage you to change that, right? So the way to go beyond living in an egocentric state is to begin with self-awareness, right? And so you have to be aware of your thoughts. Being aware of limiting beliefs is really important because that's the software in the background that's kind of like running our brain. So if we're not conscious of our thoughts, we are not conscious of how our behaviors are coming out and how we're interacting with the world. So being aware of what you're feeling, what you're really feeling, because feelings are super important, and sometimes like anger masks sadness and things like that. So being aware of what you're truly feeling is super important, and being aware of your behavior is really important. And one of the most important things is being aware of what you speak into the world. And if you guys think about that, our words are powerful. I know a lot of people say our words create our reality, and in part they do. If you, the word, I think I've shared this before, the word abracadabra is a Aramaic word that literally means as I speak, I create. So make sure, the words that you're speaking are also very, empowered in the way that you're living from your true self and less from the ego, right? So thoughts, behaviors, and the way you speak is really, really important. So that's where you want to start. And through the process of self-awareness and through the process of self-observation, which is not like a quick thing, so this is not like a quick fix scenario, you start to shift, and you start to live less from your ego and more from your true self. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. I see some new people joined, just popping off now, but I was talking about your ego, living from your ego versus living from your true self. So I hope that was helpful. And let me know if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions or any practices that you've been doing to help cultivate that, because I would love to hear them. So I'll see you guys next week at 11:11 and Sat Nam, which is a Kundalini sign off for true self. So bye.